Hello, I'm Mohsen Jamal and you watch Afghan News. The U.S. ambassador in Kabul cast doubt Wednesday on whether U.S. would be able to withdraw its troops from Afghanistan by President Barack Obama's 2014 deadline, saying key issues are far from being agreed, including how many troops, if any, will remain and on what terms. He's speaking from Kabul, where he had just attended the opening session of the Loya Jirga, and Crocker said that he was reasonably optimistic that the 2014 timetable would be met, but the recently arrived ambassador also stressed that the United States withdrawal was far from a done deal, pointing out that a joint security pact between the United States and the Afghan government was still at an early negotiating stage and that there was a presidential election between now and then. Crocker said that the security agreement under negotiation would lay out the framework for a strategic partnership well beyond 2014 in a wide range of areas, the economy, education, as well as security, adding that the Afghans should have the security lead throughout the country by then. Insurgents fired 2 rockets Thursday toward a site where more than 2,000 Afghan elders are attending a national assembly to discuss the future of U.S. military presence in Afghanistan, officials said. The Afghan Ministry of Interior said the 2 rockets were fired from an unknown location at about 8 a.m. local time, and Kabul Police Criminal Director Muhammad Zahir said 1 person was wounded. 1 rocket landed on a hillside about 1 kilometer from the meeting site, and the other landed further away in an open area, shattering a few windows and buildings near where merchants were selling vegetables and fruits. No one has claimed responsibility for the rocket attacks yet. The Taliban had threatened to attack the Loya Jirga, convened by President Hamid Karzai to discuss a strategic partnership with the United States plus a peace strategy. Afghan security forces, backed by NATO-led coalition troops, have killed 27 insurgents and captured 6 others over the past 24 hours. The Afghan Interior Ministry said in a statement on Thursday. The statement added that death toll was the result of 6 joint operations launched by the Afghan National Police, Afghan National Army, and coalition forces in Kabul, Kunar, Nangarhar, Kapisa, Kunduz, and Kandahar provinces over the past 24 hours. It added that the ANP also discovered and confiscated a handful of weapons and ammunition during the above operations. Taliban insurgents have intensified activities since the militant group launched a spring offensive against Afghan and NATO-led troops stationed in Afghanistan on May 1st. A major meeting of Afghan elders discussing the country's long-term relationship with the United States has been hit by a strange superstition surrounding the number 39, officials have confirmed. Some 2,000 elders at the Loya Jirga or Grand Assembly have divided themselves into 40 committees to debate the presence of U.S. troops in Afghanistan after 2014, when NATO combat forces are scheduled to leave, but the members of Committee 39 refused to acknowledge the number because of a popular association with pimps. The curse of 39 means that Afghans with the number on their vehicle license plate or in their mobile phone number face being teased or even ostracized. Cars with 39 in their registration number frequently calls for less than all other vehicles because of the bizarre association thought to be linked to a well-known pimp in the western city of Herat who had the number of his registration plate. The 4-day Loya Jirga got underway Wednesday with President Hamid Karzai outlining conditions for a long-term U.S. troop presence, including an end to night raids and respect for Afghan national sovereignty. The World Bank said on Wednesday it will release $100 million in frozen donor money to Afghanistan following the approval of a new loan International Monetary Fund loan program. Josephine Bessenet, acting country director for Afghanistan, said that with the IMF's approval on November 14th of a new 3-year program for Afghanistan, the World Bank will authorize the release of $100 million for the Afghan government's operating budget. The aid, which is held in a World Bank administered Afghan Reconstruction Trust Fund, was held up since March after the IMF suspended its Afghan program in September 2010 over the handling of a bank corruption scandal. On Tuesday, the IMF approved a new $133.6 million loan deal, saying the authorities were addressing the mismanagement and corruption at Kabul Bank and taking steps to strengthen the country's financial system. Pakistan's ambassador to the United States, Hussein Haqqani, has offered to resign his post after being involved in a political scandal, Foreign Policy said on its website. Pakistani-American businessman Mansoor Ijaz alleged in a column in the Financial Times in October that he had been asked by a top Pakistani diplomat to help get a memo from President Asif Ali Zardari to Admiral Mike Mullen, who was the then chairman of the U.S. Joint Chiefs of Staff. Ijaz said the memo asked Admiral Mullen for help in staving off a military takeover following the raid that killed Osama bin Laden. In Pakistan, media have speculated that Haqqani asked Ijaz for help drafting or delivering the memo. Admiral Mullen at first did not recall receiving the memo, but after media reports, the former Joint Chiefs chairman checked with colleagues and then said he had received the memo but not acted on it. Haqqani has been called on Islamabad to explain his stance on the memo. China has reacted angrily to remarks by U.S. President Barack Obama signaling a significant shift in U.S. policy vis-a-vis Asia. His commitment came a day after the U.S. said it would deploy up to 2,500 troops to northern Australia in Titan Air Force cooperation, causing a strong reaction from China, whose rapid rise is reorienting Asia's strategic balance. In a message aimed both at a region he sees as key to the U.S. economic future and politicians at home, Obama told the Australian Parliament on Thursday the Asia-Pacific was too vital to fall prey to U.S. penny pinching, warning that reductions in funding for the U.S. military mission were inevitable after years of huge spending in Iraq and Afghanistan. The People's Daily, a Chinese newspaper being the organ of the ruling Communist Party, was clear in its opposition to reinforce U.S.-Australia security ties, stating that it is impossible for China to remain detached no matter what Australia does to undermine its security. Leaders of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations approved Myanmar's request on Thursday to chair the Southeast Asian Regional Bloc in 2014, 2 years ahead of schedule, giving it some long-sought international recognition. The 10-member bloc made the decision as they began their 19th summit in Bali on Thursday, as they gathered to discuss maritime territorial disputes, free trade, and other regional issues. Recent overtures by Myanmar's government have included calls for peace with ethnic minority groups, some tolerance of criticism, the suspension of an unpopular Chinese-funded dam project, and the legalization of labor unions. But Barack Obama, the U.S. president, cautioned that Myanmar must still demonstrate improvements in human rights, and his first remarks since the authoritarian regime freed hundreds of political prisoners in October and vote more reforms in the weeks ahead. This year, the meeting, which brings together the 10-member countries, Brunei, Cambodia, Indonesia, Laos, Malaysia, Myanmar, the Philippines, Singapore, Thailand, and Vietnam, will be expanded to include Obama and Russian President Dmitry Medvedev. The leaders of Japan, China, South Korea, India, Australia, and New Zealand, all partners of the bloc, will also join the talks on Friday. The Arab League has offered the government of Bashar al-Assad 3 more days to stop violence or else face economic sanctions after a previous deadline for Syria to act passed on Wednesday. The announcement followed the regional bloc's foreign ministers meeting in the Moroccan capital Rabat to decide their next move after Assad ignored the ultimatum issued on Saturday. Sheikh Hamad bin Jassim al-Thani, the Qatari prime minister, said in Rabat if Damascus does not agree to cooperate with the League, sanctions will be adopted against Syria. Sheikh Hamad said that Arab patience with Assad's government was running out, but that it still had time, adding that the Arab League would send international observers to Syria, but only if Syria agreed to the plan. The developments came on a day 14 soldiers and 17 civilians were killed in violence, according to Syrian opposition groups. And the dozens of Kuwaitis demanding the Prime Minister's designation have briefly stormed parliamentary buildings as hundreds demonstrated outside. The protesters had earlier on Wednesday marched to Prime Minister Sheikh Nasir Mohammed Al-Ahmad Al-Sabah's home to demand his resignation. An opposition MP said, but police used batons to prevent them. Musallam Al-Barak, who led the protest along with several other politicians and youth activists, also called for the dissolution of parliament over alleged corruption. Witnesses said at least 5 demonstrators were injured and treated on the site, while some activists said they will continue to camp outside parliament until the prime minister is sacked. Tension has been building in Kuwait over the past 3 months after it was alleged that about 16 MPs in the 15-member parliament received about $350 million in bribes. And that's all for now. Thanks for staying with us.